Okay everyone, we're back. This is part 3 of integrating the Amazon in-app purchases into Blade Star X, the Android game. And we're on a roll here. I think things are going kind of smooth because, well, I've done it a few times already, so hopefully this is hopefully a lot smoother than last time, at least on the code side of things. So, as I mentioned before, I've found the code for the Amazon in-app purchase event listener here, which is the script that receives signals from the Amazon App Store once the player has made the purchase. And this is the script from Superbug Killer. And since we've already done that, we've already uploaded that game and it's already live and it's running, then we might as well just copy this code from this script, or at least use it similar so that we're doing the same thing as before. So let's just find it inside of our current project. So if I go to, just type in Amazon in-app purchase event listener, I'm going to double click on it and I'm going to go down to, let me find which, okay, so purchase successful event. So I'm just going to copy these. The reason that I copy these is, I'll just find it first. Purchase successful event, there it is, okay. The reason I get these, the green comments with the lines is just so I know which part of this script I've changed. Because this script is actually written by Prime31, so I'm just, I want to highlight which one that I've changed, and therefore I can go back later and make any updates pretty easily. So I think the next thing is I'm just going to copy some things and then I'll explain in a moment what exactly I'm doing. Remove ads, Amazon destroy banner, that's fine. Alright, I'm just going to grab these and I'm going to change these once I've got everything that I need. Unitron. Debug doesn't matter. Flory log event, I think Flory is included. Not that it matters right now, doesn't matter. Game object.find 3D text. Okay, I'm just going to grab that from the other one. I'm going to explain in a second. So, okay, the other. So this is the Amazon in-app purchase event listener. This in-app billing Android event listener is for the Google Play market. And what I want to do here, because Google Play, the version for Google Play is already up and running, and it's already I've tested it and I know it works. I can copy the code from this one and then use it inside of the Amazon in-app purchase event listener as well. And obviously there's going to be some changes because it's a different API, but we want to make sure that the same things are getting unlocked, such as the geometry stars, for both the Google Play market and the Amazon market. So I'm going to grab this bottom code here. And I'm going to go to the Amazon in-app purchase. Give it a little space. Alright, and I'm just going to delete this because it's not needed there. In-app billing Android, stop billing service. That's not what we want because that's for the other one. So I'm just talking to myself there, guys. Just give me 1 minute whilst I set all this up, and then it can make sense to you guys. Because then I can talk through it clearly. Alright, so I'm just going to grab that. Product ID. Yeah, and then, okay, so receipt.skew equals this one, okay. So that's not going to be 100 Bs, we're going to change that later. And as we go along as well, guys, we'll be testing all of this out. And I'll explain it in a moment. But Amazon has an in-app billing tester APK that you can install onto your Android device to make sure that the in-app billing is working before it goes live onto their store. And that's very useful, of course, because it takes around 1 week for Amazon to approve applications or games. So it's very useful to have that available, and so that you don't waste any time. So shop scene, and it's 15, 16, 17 is the SKU. Boom, 16, 17, that's fine. Remove ads. Have I spent okay, I just need to delete that. I think we're okay here. I'm just going to quickly look through this, guys, and then I'll explain it. So let's say number of stars, 3,000. Okay, 8,000. 8,000, 13,000, 13,000. Remove the ads, destroy the banner. Find out if the game actually starts. I see it's 90 on this. Update the number of geometry stars. Okay, I think we're actually missing something there. Text message. Okay, and maybe we're not missing anything. Okay. Anyway, sorry if I was sort of just figuring things out. So anyway, so what happens is once the user clicks on the button, then we saw that it was making a function call to the Amazon App Store to then try to purchase this object or item or whatever. Once it's been purchased, then Amazon will then call back into the application, and this function will get called here, which is purchase successful event. And what we want to do is we want to check which item the player purchased. So this is this receipt.skew equals 15. Receipt.skew equals 1617, which was the 3,000, 8,000, and 13,000 geometry stars. And in each of these, what we're doing is we're setting the integer, the player pref integer, which is the permanent data stored inside of the memory of the device. So even if the player turns off the application, we don't want them to lose their geometry stars that they just purchased. So in this case, we have to store it in a permanent data place, which is what player prefs does. So we're setting the integer. The number of stars is the data, which is the variable that holds that information. And then what we're doing is getting the current number of stars and then adding 3,000. And then after that, we're showing an alert. We're saying, hey, this, congratulations, you just purchased 3,000 geometry stars. And then a button which says OK. I won't explain this code here very much, but you can do whatever you need to inform the player of, hey, you just unlocked your gun, your car, your 5,000 coins, whatever it may be. And then we're doing the same for the skew 16 and skew 17, which is 8,000 and 13,000. So that's fine. And then down here, we're removing ads from the game. So addmob.destroy banner, that destroys the ads in the game. So because when a player makes a purchase of 3,000 stars, or if they pay $1, it's generally users, if they've paid something, then we remove ads from the game. Generally, players these days are kind of used to that, and they don't like to have ads in the game if they've paid for something. And that's of course that's fine for the developer as well. I'd think, since they've paid real money. So we're setting in ads removed, which basically just remembers that the player has removed the ads from the game if they turn off the application and then restart it. And then add mob destroy banner, so that gets rid of the ads. And then what we're doing is we're updating the stars 3D text in the game. So don't worry about this, guys. The main one that I wanted to explain and talk about was all this here, and receiving the item that they've just purchased, so we know what to unlock in the game. Okay, so I'm just going to click Command and S to save it. Go back into Unity. Watching this on the bottom right. And I think we should all be good here. The next thing that we want to do is include the event listener in the scene, along with the Amazon manager as well. So if I go to this one here, Amazon in-app billing event listener, I want to drag this down into the scene, because this means that this event listener is in that shop scene when the player makes the purchase. If this event listener wasn't here, then the player would make the purchase and nothing would happen. Okay, and the other one that we want to do as well is I'm going to go back into the logo scene, which is the first scene that's loaded, and we want to click on Amazon again and drag down the Amazon in-app purchase manager into the first scene. And what this is, this Amazon in-app purchasing manager handles all the messages between the event listener and the API calls, the lines that we wrote before about getting the skew data and so on. And that has to be persistent throughout the game. So what I mean is it's in the first scene, but it won't get destroyed when the next scene loads, so that it stays throughout the game, which is what we want. And I'm going to test this now by playing through it. So I'm just going to click on, I'm going to choose Amazon. So it's the only game object that we can see. I'm going to click play. So I'm sorry if this is a bit loud. Hopefully that didn't just bust your ears. Amazon in-app purchase manager. So this is the first scene. Click play. There you go. The event listener is now in the shop scene, which is exactly what we want, so that we can receive the data of what the player has just purchased. I'm going to click next to go into the game scene. And then the Amazon manager is still there because it doesn't get destroyed, but the event listener has gone because we don't need it in this scene. On the Amazon in-app billing page, what happens is the player will go to the Amazon pop-up, and then the game will stay in the same scene. It will stay inside of the shop scene, so we don't need to worry about going to the next scene. But what I am going to do is I'm actually going to include the Amazon in-app purchase event listener in each scene, just as good practice, okay? So I'm just going to go down here and click Amazon event listener. And then I'm going to go to the menu scene, which is the next one, which is the next scene that loads inside of the game. Find the Amazon in-app purchasing event listener. And the reason that I'm doing this, guys, excuse me, is basically because, let's say, for example, the user purchases 99 cents, purchases 3,000 geometry stars inside of the shop scene. And so the data gets sent to the Amazon App Store, and then what might happen is if then the Amazon purchase screen goes away and the player comes back into the shop scene, if they click play very quickly, it goes to the game scene. But the game scene doesn't have that Amazon event listener inside it. So Amazon will send this message back to the game, but there'll be nothing to receive that information. It won't receive the player just purchased this 3,000 stars. Now update the game. So it might not happen on the Amazon App Store. It has happened on Google Play, but it's just good practice, I think, to keep an event listener in there just in case. So that's why I'm doing that, just to explain it. Okay, so shop scene, we already had this. I'm going to double check it anyway. So Amazon, yeah, event listener, and then I'm going to go space shooter, the next scene, which is the main game. Amazon, I'm going to find the event listener. I'm going to drag it into the scene here. Okay, so that should be fine. Then I'm just going to go back to the logo scene and just double check that the event listener exists in every scene now. So Amazon, click play. And just in case you don't know, this bottom part here, this hierarchy tab actually shows what's in the game at the time, the actual game objects. This project part at the top here is just the files that you have available in that project. It doesn't mean that these files are all included inside of the game. This is the actual game files down here. So we've got the event listener and the manager. Click play. Yeah, event listener manager. Play, event listener manager, and there you can see the event listener, the script's actually attached to that game object as well, which is great. Go back to the main menu. And there we go. Alright, so that's working fine now. The next thing that we want to test is something that actually confused me a lot before, and so I've got to sort of recap it in my own mind. And I'm going to pause the video for a moment there to check this thing before I start talking about it, because if I don't, then you're just going to hear a lot of and ahs and how do I do this, and it might seem a little bit boring. So I'm going to pause it right there and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so I just checked a couple of things there as I paused the video for a moment. Now, to test in-app purchases on the Amazon App Store through your Android device, is you need to have basically two things. One is you need to install the Amazon Tester APK file. I'm just going to check that, yeah, this one is here, and I actually installed this. So the folder that you're seeing right here is basically my Android device. The Amazon Tester appears as this icon up here, okay? And what it basically does is it allows the player just to test the in-app purchases. This is the interface, but you don't actually have to use this interface. You can just do everything directly from the game in the case of what I'm about to show you. You don't have to go into this application, but you do have to have this application installed, okay? How to get this application is if you go to the developer.amazon.com/SDK.html, you can download the SDK here, and that will contain this folder. If I find it, just one moment. Amazon apps SDK. Yeah, so you'll get this zip file, appsSDK.zip. You open that one, and I think it's under in-app purchasing, and then there it is. So Amazon Tester APK. All right, and what you can do is you can install that onto your device, and you can either probably the easiest way to do this, guys, to install an APK onto your device is if you send it to Gmail account, and then inside if you open Gmail on your Amazon on your Android device, is if you find the email with the APK at the bottom, it'll say install. Just click on it and then install it. For this to work, to install APKs that are not from the Google Play Market, you need to set up some things, and I'm just going to try and find this here since we're on the topic. I just want to make sure that you guys aren't running into any kind of stumbling blocks. Okay, so I just checked it. So if you go down to settings here, the bottom, the icon, then go to applications, then click on development. Make sure that these three are checked. Okay, so what that can do is that means it can install applications that are not a part of the Google Play Market. So I think, let me think, I'm just trying to, I'm just losing my train of thought here, guys. So you need to install the APK. The other one that you need is a JSON file. Now, this is stored in the root of your Android device. Okay, so as you can see here, this one is my Android device listed, and this Amazon SDK tester.json. If I double click on this, as you can see, it contains all of that metadata information, so all of the SKU information. So for example, this is from Super Bug Killer, 100 bees, it's a consumable, it costs $1, the title, the description, and then the small icon. So this is great because we can just adjust this for our Geometry Stars Blade Star X that we're doing right now. Okay. The way to get this JSON file on here is pretty simple. I think if you just drag down on the top here and then that'll appear, is if you click on, I think it's turn on USB storage, and then you'll get this screen. This guy will be green when you first do this, and then click on this button at the bottom. I'm using Android 2.3 here, I think, so it might be a little bit different on yours. But once this guy is orange, then that means it's connected to your PC or your Mac, and then you can transfer files just by dragging and dropping. Okay. You can also use that to install APKs as well. But if you want some instructions on how to install APKs, that's a separate video. I can do that for you if you want. All right. So once you've, what you can do, guys, is if you get that, I'll just open a new Finder window. What you can do is Amazon. So you've just downloaded the SDK from the Amazon App Store, in-app purchasing, tools, Amazon.SDK-test.json. You can just left-click and drag this in here, and then that'll appear in the root of your device, which is where it's supposed to be. Once it's there, double-click on it, and then you'll open up your editor. You can do this inside of like TextEdit, or you can do it inside of here. This is just popped up as a, what is this? It's an Xcode window. Whichever editor you want to use, it doesn't really matter. Just as long as it can edit text, it's fine. Okay. So what's important about this is the layout as well. I've not got much experience with JSON or JSON files, so I had to. This was actually a bit of a head scratcher when I came to installing in-app purchases. And so I'm kind of happy that I'm doing a video now about this because it did cause me some headaches trying to figure this out. For about a day I was scratching my head trying to figure this one. But now I've got this, so hopefully this helps you guys out a lot because it was a bit of trouble. So these blocks here are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are for Super Bug Killer. We've only got 3 in-app purchases, okay, for Blade Star X, so we can delete these bottom 3. Okay, so I'm just going to go up here, delete them, delete this, okay? I'm just going to move this down a little bit. Pay attention to the syntax because it's obviously important. Like with any code language, it can run into some trouble if you don't do it exactly like this. So opening braces, close braces, and then inside of those braces, the list of the apps, okay? A list of the SKUs that we set up inside of the Amazon App Store. All right, so the first one is 15. The next one is 16. Next one is 17. The type is consumable. Remember, that's if you've got a coin or something that can be bought over and over and over. If you've got a purchase which is like an unlockable, like for example, a gun or something like this, then that would be called entitle. You'd write entitle in here in capitals, or entitlement. Please check the SDK documentation. I can't remember if it's entitle or entitled or entitlement, but you just need to change this here. Okay. The price $135 is correct. That's what we want. The title will change this to 3,000 geometry stars, and I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste this, and so I think that's all good. So that would be 8,000 and that would be 13,000. For the description, I'm actually going to go into get the description directly from the in-app purchase inside of the Amazon App Store that we wrote down before. So, BladeStar X, pending action, yeah, let's click on this. Click on the pending action one, or the one that's live, then you get this pop-up. In-app purchases, or in-app items, and we want to get this description. So, if I click on here, you can see that I made the changes before and they've all been approved, which is good to see.